Vava Tampa. Vava is a Congolese activist. He's also the founder of the civil society organization Save the Congo. Vava, thank you for your time. Let's talk about, first of all, the violence. Is this violence coming from the protesters? And in any way, is it understandable? In other words, are people so desperate? Have they lost so much and have so little left that they have no other recourse but to protest like this?
Yes, the killings in Beni has been going on for more than 3 years, and we are talking about thousands of people killed, and they have been killed under the nose of the UN peacekeeping mission. This is the largest peacekeeping missions in the world, and they have been killed in the most brutal way, using terrible instruments, machetes and knives and so forth. And this crisis has left hundreds of thousands of people homeless, displaced across the country. And the question is why the UN has been unable to put a stop to it. We know exactly the people responsible. A UN report, a private UN report has named them. They are people close to Kabila. How come they have not been taken out of this equation? How come no action has been taken? This is why the Congolese people are protesting, and this is why we are calling on the international community to do more.
You've hinted a bit at who this armed rebel group are. Tell us more about the group and who are they fighting? Is there anybody confronting them, or are they regularly just targeting innocent people?
Well, formally, officially, the name of the rebel groups that are allegedly responsible for the killing is ADF, a Ugandan Islamic militia gangs that, that are killings in Congo. But unofficially, we know actually a UN report that said the killing was being organized by one of Kabila's top lieutenants. He was paying people, soldiers, to kill people, to commit crimes in Congo. He was the one responsible for giving guns and sending troops to kill people. And he's the man responsible for the security of the entire eastern part of the Congo. So this issue clearly is an internal issue. The Congolese government, Kabila's people, Joseph Kabila and his top militia gangs are responsible for the killing. And the killing is being done for one reason: to frustrate the people to an extent in which sooner or later there would be a new militia gangs that would be formally created in Beni under the guise of protecting the people of Beni, and then that would lead into more killings and more crisis, and eventually the breakup of Beni. That is the reason Kabila is pushing his agenda.
And on top of all of this, of course, we have the Ebola epidemic. We don't nearly enough, the international media, report regularly on the Ebola epidemic, but we know that it's the second worst outbreak since the first one. How bad is the situation in terms of Ebola around Beni, as far as you know?
No, it's awful. It's a crisis. This is one of the reasons we are fascinatingly frightened about this situation. Look, the Ebola crisis in Congo has killed over 2,000 people. The largest mass killing of Ebola happened in West Africa, but in Congo, which has experienced over 10 different outbreaks of Ebola. None of the Ebola crisis in Congo before had claimed more than 500 people. Now, we need to ask ourselves a question, which is why this time it has taken over 2,000 people and continue to consume lives. And with this entire crisis, the UN Health Organization has just evacuated 49 people, which is more than one-third of, in fact, almost a half of its staff in Beni. So if this issue is not dealt with, if nothing is done, this crisis, as insecurity as well as the crisis, could consume the entire eastern part of Congo and eventually the whole of Congo, and more people would die. This is why I must echo this. Denis Mukwege, the Congolese Nobel Peace winner, a few days ago called for the EU to send a peacekeeping missions to deal specifically with the Beni issues. I've written to the UN, I've written to the EU, I've written to the African Union. We want the same. We want a special peacekeeping mission to address the killings in Beni. This cannot allow to continue any longer.
Let's be completely frank here, Vava. The point is that Ebola doesn't need to kill anybody if they get the right treatment. Do you feel that the outside world is saying, at the moment, we don't care enough about this because it hasn't come to the white part of the world, that people are dying in Africa, let them die in Africa, we'll help them as much as we can, but until it comes to us, we're not going to do whatever needs to be done to stop it completely?
Well, that is a fact. Even the killings in Congo itself is a testament to that belief, because this is happening over there, because these are black people killing each other. We do not care. That is a fact. That's how international politics has been functioning for the last 50 or 60 years since Africa became independent. And that doesn't take away from the fact that the reason Ebola has killed so many people is also to do with the insecurity issues in Beni, to do with the insecurity issue in the entire region. The reason other previous outbreaks of Ebola was dealt with more effectively, it was because Ebola experts and medical staff were able to gain access to the entire country and to deal with this virus before it got out of hand. And in this case, we have been unable as a country, as well as an international community, partially because we refuse to deal with people responsible for the killings of the Congolese people. And those people, we know their names. They are Joseph Kabila in Congo, they are Paul Kagame in Rwanda, they are Yoweri Museveni in Uganda. Until us as an international community actually deals with these people, this crisis will continue to consume lives and continue to consume Congolese lives until Congo breaks up. This is the end of the game, the aim of these three people.
Okay, and as I said in the introduction, that the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, they both rank DRC as one of the very, very poorest countries in the world. Has Ebola impoverished people even more in terms of stopping them from going about their daily lives, being able to travel to neighboring countries, stopping business people from doing the commerce that they would normally be doing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, Ebola has added a further burden on top of the humanitarian crisis we're already experiencing. I mean, your viewers will remember that more than 10% of the Congolese population depend on international support, international aid to live, for food. This is a country that could potentially be the richest country under the sun. Congo's GDP, or Congo's natural wealth, is equivalent to the GDP of the US, Canada, EU, and Australia combined, over 22 trillion US dollars. However, because of corruptions, because of colonizations, because of humanitarian crisis, because of the killing which continues to go on, the Congolese people are amongst the poorest in the world. And Ebola, as well as the current humanitarian crisis, the current conflict, the killings in Beni, the killings in Yumbi, the killings in Kasai, the killings across the entire country is placing the Congolese people in danger. This is why, as Dr. Mukwege has been pushing forward, we want an international criminal tribunal for Congo to deal with people like Joseph Kabila, people like Paul Kagame, people like Yoweri Museveni, and we want a special international force to go and essentially restore peace in Beni as well as other parts of the Congo. We can no longer, there is no one internationally who could say, I did not know. Everyone understands, everyone knows that over 5.4 million people, Congolese people, died in the first 10 years of this crisis, and millions more continue to die, and millions more continue to be displaced and to be raped almost on a yearly basis. This has to be put to an end.
Vava, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Vava Tampa speaking to us from London.